Hi, this is Stacy Pingree, founder of Radiant Financial Group and this Legacy Wealth Building podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Crystal Novak. She's an incredible real estate agent amongst real estate investor as well, and a friend to me as well. We've become very close friends here, so I'm super excited to have her on the show. Thank you. Let me just tell you a little bit about Crystal. She's a powerhouse in both real estate and personal finance education. She's an ASU graduate and a former nurse. She's seamlessly transitioned into a successful realtor and real estate investor, and she's deeply passionate about educating others on personal finance and using real estate as a tool for building wealth. Together with her husband, Crystal is focused on creating a lasting legacy for their children. And man, we have so much fun stuff to talk about because you do it all. So I'm excited. So happy to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course.
I'm so honored.
I know because we know how much we can talk about.
We'll talk for a long time.
Yeah, I want to just jump in. You had obviously you're now, I mean, it's funny, from when we met until now is just such an incredible story, I feel like. Can you give us a background, like up to the point where we met, maybe? Just give us a background around that.
Yeah, so 2.5 years ago is when we met, and I was just in the middle of kind of having a couple new babies, and I had a business, and I was a nurse, and all the things, and I was just getting started to get into real estate. I think I was working on my courses at the time, like wasn't licensed just yet, and we met at an event and just like hit it off, and everyone else was up mingling, and we just sat at this table talking all night long, and you were just so fun, and it was just one of those things where it was like totally meant to be. Like we were meant to meet that night. And I never knew anyone else in my life that had invested and done all of these things in business that you did. And so I was just so fascinated by you and sharing your story and just being so open to talk with. And my story started a long time ago with wanting to invest and just about money in general. I think like that's kind of where this all started, is just wanting to be better about money, because I grew up in a family that didn't have money. We looked like we had money, but we didn't have money. Really, we just had a bunch of debt. And so I, from a young age, just knew that I didn't want to live that way, and I needed to find a way not to do it. But it's very hard growing up in a middle-class family that's in a lot of debt to start anywhere. You know, I didn't have friends who invested or, you know, knew what to do, nothing in real estate. Everybody just owned their own home, and that was about as far as it went.
Yeah. How'd you pick nursing? It's like,
yeah, well, honestly, I thought that nursing was a good paying job. I felt very rushed into like deciding what I wanted to do for a career. You know, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, man, at 18, we shouldn't be having to make such a huge life decision. Like, I wasn't ready to choose a career, but I felt like I had to. And I knew blue collar jobs. I knew, like, you know, you go be a teacher, you go be a nurse, you go be a fireman, you go
stable, steady.
Yeah, like service work essentially. And my dad was in like construction and concrete. My mom went to trade school and was like an orthodontist assistant. So like that's what I knew. And so I didn't know about going to school for business or for real estate or for finance, like any of these things to kind of help elevate a little bit further into that like wealth building life. And so I went to school to be a nurse, which I was very passionate about. Like I loved caring for people, and I thought that was going to be a lifetime career. But once I got to the age of having kids and my husband was a fireman and realizing what that lifestyle would look like, I just realized that it just wasn't going to be a good fit for me. And I had started dabbling in like the entrepreneurial world, but really just starting from nothing. Like I didn't know what I was doing at all. I started in network marketing, but that was like the basis for teaching me how to build a business and just how to do anything outside of just working for somebody else. And so while I can kind of cringe at some of the stuff that we did in the way that like you do business, I'm so grateful for like the opportunity that I learned how to run a business essentially. Right. And then I just took that step and went to the next one, owned another business that I started from the ground up with my best friend, and outgrew that, like 5 years in. And then that's when I finally was just ready to kind of get going in my real estate journey. It was like 10 years in the making. I was just too afraid to to make any moves.
Well,
And
or they were stepping stones, right?
it
Or
was.
baby steps to
It
it.
was all stepping stones.
Yeah.
But for before we actually got started, we wanted to invest in real estate for like 10 years. Luckily, we did buy a house early and young. And, we bought our first house and it was a great move. It was like 2012, I want to say. So great time to buy a house. And we stayed in it for like 4 years. We did some little projects around the house, kind of built up some equity. And then we decided to buy another one 5 years later and sold that one. But now in hindsight, I'm like, man, I wish somebody would have started teaching me about this a long time ago and been able to keep that property too. But yeah, so I mean, my journey just kind of started a long time ago with like just a desire to want to live differently. But it's been a long process of like finally getting there and being able to like execute, because I was frozen, I felt like, for the longest time.
Well, and when you hit those sort of like plateaus, or you hit the wall where you're like, I've learned all I can learn in this station in my life, this season in my life, or whatever. And it's like, so now what? Now what? And I mean, I think being able to push through those, like recognize them. Anyone who's listening to this who's at that stage right now, right? It's like, now I know this part of my life. I've been a nurse. It's not what I don't see myself in the future here. What next? You know? And this is a way you can get into this as a side hustle.
Absolutely. You should start as a side hustle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, don't quit your job yet. Like figure things out first.
Yep.
But there's so much beyond what we think and believe at the time. You just have to be willing to take a little bit of risk. And it can be calculated risk. I mean, I studied for a long time, but once I was in this position, like at home with my kids, I knew that like I was ready. I was like, I'm going to make some moves. I'm not going to sit and wait on this anymore. And this knowledge and information that I feel like I've been I wasn't executing anything. Like I was gathering knowledge from podcasts and books and all the things, but I was too afraid to actually make any moves. I told you I went to a Rich Dad Poor Dad seminar when I was 22. And I may have not even gone the whole weekend because I knew no one in the room. They were talking to us about this was, I mean, I was 22, so like what, 15 years ago?
Oh yeah,
even?
like, that's the
so
quadrant. You're talking
they
about
were
the quadrants.
teaching, they were teaching us about buying mobile home parks.
Oh yeah.
And I was 22 years old sitting in this room and I was like, you want me to buy a mobile home park? Like, how am I going to make any action from this? Like, this is
oh my God,
crazy.
I'm sorry, guys. I got to stop. I'm so sorry. I got a hawk out here and I got to get him out of here. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Get out of here. Go. Yeah.
I think you should keep this in here.
Oh, I'm keeping that staying in. Wow. Does she have a dog out there or something?
I don't know. I was like, is someone drowning? Is the pool out there?
That's what I was thinking.
Oh my gosh. Sorry about that. A little panic because I've got chickens out there and hawks sometimes.
We're trying to get them.
Hawks sometimes. I have hawks. I don't really like hawks. We don't want hawks, but anyway, yes, they do try to chase them down. So if they're easy prey, but if I go out there and scare them away, then they go away. So
you got to take care of those chickens.
Chickens are life. Oh man, no. So sorry about that. Okay.
No, that's okay. So we were talking about this seminar that I went to and being in the. I guess what I'm getting at is like you have to really be in the right rooms. Like I was in the right room when I met you. It was the perfect like situation and just time in my life. I was not in the right room when I was 22 learning about buying mobile home parks.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but you're a seeker. Like you were seeking to be in the right room. And I think that is
I think that's the next step from like the reading and the podcast and like trying to take in all the information is like if you could do that forever and ever and ever and never take any action. I think the closer you're going to get to taking action is meeting the right people, meeting people who are doing it. And I think that's just a big step into wealth building if you don't know where to start,
Yeah, I mean, I think the motivation, right? Like where you came from and what you're talking about here, like just what gives you the drive to want to learn it. And I mean, you just were, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be living off credit cards. I don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. I want to build something that you can control, you can grow, you can, create a legacy with.
For my kids. I just didn't want my kids to live like that.
Well, I think getting started too, I mean, we talked early on, like, Nick having a job that was going to still have a steady pay. So even if they are a couple, like one can, if you guys are doing a lot to work together now, right? And to build something together as you transition to more like Kim's more involvement with you on some of the flips and things like that. But
Yeah.
no, I think getting in and getting started didn't really matter what you did. You when we sat down that night that we met, it was funny. You were like, "Well, should I do this? Should I do this?" I was like, yes, but let's just
One step
yeah,
first.
yeah, was it? Yeah, because you were just so excited. But I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd give anything for every client I had to have that, right?
Yeah.
And that's what sets you apart, I think, is just your passion for like wanting to learn. And then, we talk a lot about mindset and all these, what makes a leader and makes someone an entrepreneur successful and having the right mindset. But yeah, it does, but you have to have action, right? You have to execute and put it into action. So, even when we sit down and build a plan, sometimes the plan doesn't work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we got to pivot and do something else. And but we take action.
Yeah. No, for sure. So just part of kind of our backstory too is once I decided to leave nursing and I was at home with our kids a little bit, like we kind of got into a period of time as adults, like after we had started being able to save and kind of own a home and do all of that. I think we had to take a step back because I was staying home with our kids and I wasn't sure once I left nursing, like what was going to happen. I hadn't quite pivoted into real estate. I owned my own business working from home, but we had to learn how to live off of one income. And that's basically what we decided we were going to do at the time. We weren't ready to put our kids in daycare. And so we have gone through different like periods of our adult lives together of we're growing and growing and growing and growing and building and building and building. And then we just hit this point where we have kids now and things have changed and how do we want our life to work? And so instead of changing, I guess, I don't know. We decided that we were going to learn how to live off of one income. Yeah. And so we weren't able to save for a couple of years. And so it was kind of just a weird time when you're so used to being able to do that and live a certain lifestyle. But we just decided that we weren't willing to give up like our future to continue to live the same lifestyle. Yeah. And so we just decided to pivot a little bit, take a couple of years where we slowed down. We weren't really saving. We were just kind of just managing, scraping by. We just kind of kept our savings that we had previously. And so that was a big change for us. And then transitioning into real estate, we've like grown so much in the last 2 years. And now it's been really fun to kind of kick that back up into overdrive with saving and investing. And like the other day I reached out to our financial advisor and I was like, can you tell me where to put this money? I'm like, this is so fun. Like, it's really fun when you go from like, we have to budget how much we're spending on food and things like that. And then when you realize that like all of that work and effort paid off to now be able to take these risks, which I felt like were risks at the time, changing careers and doing something totally different and going against the grain of what a lot of people thought. People thought I was nuts for having a master's degree in nursing and leaving to go do real estate. I can't tell you how many times people were like, you're really leaving nursing for real estate?
Like it's so safe. It's so secure.
Yeah. And I thankfully, my husband does have a very secure job and can provide the things like the benefits and all of that, because obviously going and starting your own business, you have to worry, you don't have that. But it's like it's provided for us tenfold. And now we're in such a different position than we ever could have been had I just stayed safe in my job too. And both of us, like we would have just been switching off, not getting to live this life of freedom that we're starting to get to experience now, all because, we took a little bit of a chance. We educated ourselves, but took a chance.
Well, and to me, that you didn't just do that too. You doubled down because you said, okay, I'm going to go out and be a real estate agent. I'm going to be professional. I'm going to help people, start their journey into wealth building by just buying their first home or whatever, wherever they're at, meeting them wherever they're at in the real estate, journey. But also you said, we're investors. We are immediately like, we're not waiting for one to happen for the other.
Yeah.
And so when we originally talked, it was like, okay, there's steps, right? Like you were in a house that you had a great interest rate. Mm-hmm. You knew you were not selling that house, right? Right. That thing will cash flow with a renter in it, and you can move out and keep it as your first rental. So, I think you've also done all the things that you could possibly do. You invested out of state where you could get cash flow housing. Mm-hmm. I don't need to, you can.
That's okay. Yeah. I'll tell the story a little bit. So once we finally decided we were ready, one of the things that I had started discussing with you is moving out of our current house because we had, below 3% interest rate. Rents had gone through the roof. So we knew we could cash flow a ton on our home that we were living in. And so our plan that you helped me come up with was move out of this house, go buy a new primary, and then you'll take the extra funds from the the home that you have and put that towards your new mortgage and just roll with it.
Yeah.
And then you're building up the cash flow, building up the properties. And so that's what we did. We did that 1.5 years ago, and we bought another house that we knew eventually would turn into a rental as well.
The key.
And yeah, exactly. And people are like, oh my gosh, you have 2 little kids. You're going to move like multiple times. And I was like, yeah, that's what it takes. Like a little bit of uncomfortability to create this like lifelong wealth building plan.
Yeah.
And so we moved, and then we're actually in the middle of trying to move again soon. So we're going to do the same thing, and then we'll probably hang out for a little bit. But in between all of that, we decided, we needed to start somewhere with like purchasing actual investment properties. And we had a little bit of capital, a little bit of money. We also have our home equity line of credit, which you taught me to use, for short term.
Yep.
So we were able to take out that home equity line of credit to use for our own capital for short-term things. But moving to buy that new to buy a new house to eventually turn into a rental. And then we also used capital to buy cheap investment properties out of state because they cash flowed so well. Like we double what our mortgage is on the properties that are in Michigan right now. And, everyone always asks why Michigan. And I just said, well, I found out that they were affordable. And a lot of people say like, you're not going to get the appreciation in those places, but we still are, because they're affordable and people are drawn to affordable places right now while the market is so unaffordable.
Yep.
So we're actually benefiting from both, even though we thought it was only going to be a cash flow play.
Yeah.
But we started with those 2. We now have this one, and then we're about to turn our current into another rental. So we'll have 4. And then we just started flipping properties this year too. So we were able to find some good deals and put it all together and make those part of our plan too. So it's like we're finding different avenues of being able to bring in an income
and I loved what you talked about with what we've talked about with your first flip that you did, how you found that. And I think it's fair to say that as a professional, real estate professional, going out and not only helping, you found an opportunity that worked out. It ended up working out for you because you were scared. You called me, you were scared, right? And also, but you offered opportunities for a listing to the person. Because I think this is great for people to know that they have options when they go to sell their home, when they go to list their, and
well, and it's my duty as a real estate professional to help someone walk through their options. I went to a listing appointment from a referral for someone who was moving out of state, and I found out what was important to her. Like I walked into this house and I looked around, there was missing flooring, there were 6 dogs, there was missing cabinets, and it was just her. Yeah. And I found out that she had a job waiting for her in another state, and she was so anxious at the thought of having to get her house list ready, like feeling like she had to get it in perfect condition. Yeah. And I walk in and I put all of my hats on, not just like, hey, I'm going to list your property on MLS. I need you to go and spend $30,000 to get this house in great shape. Like I'm there to help provide a solution. Yeah. So I walk in and I explained to her and I said, have you considered just taking a cash offer for this? Is that something that you've, considered at all? And she was like, no, I didn't even know that was possible. And I just said, well, listen, like I want to do whatever's best for you. So I'm going to give you 3 different options, and I'm going to show you exactly what you're going to walk away with in the end. Because the reality is, highest dollar amount in the money is not always the most important to people.
Well, especially when it requires a lot of work and
exactly.
and
time and money that she didn't have. Yep. And so basically, I laid it out for her over the next couple of days. I gave her a spreadsheet with like, this is what you'll probably need if you want to sell this for top dollar on MLS, but this is what you're going to walk away with, like considerably more.
Yeah.
And then I also said, I could get you an investor, to give you a cash offer as is. You do nothing. You leave with your dogs and go live your happy life with your new job by your family. Yeah. And her eyes just lit up. She was like, I really didn't even think that was an option. And most real estate agents will not walk in your door and tell you that is an option because they don't even realize it. Right. So you just have to use the tools in our tool belt. And then that elevated me for other deals too. But just walking in with those options, it's gotten me listings before because I've walked in and told someone, or I've been on the phone and been able to say, I could potentially offer you a cash offer. And they're like, well, yeah, I want to hear what you have to say. And then when you go in and you say, this house is too nice, like you're not going to want to take a cash offer for this. Yeah. Let's list this for a top dollar.
But it still gives them
options.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically once I knew that this client was like really pushed. She was so excited about the option to just walk away. Like she didn't have 6 months to get contractors in there and, have to kennel her dogs or whatever she was going to have to do to get all the things done in the house. And once I had an idea that that's probably the route she was going to go, I talked to my husband and I was like, I feel like this is all just aligning a little bit too well. Like, what if she does go this route? What if I talk to her about us purchasing it from her? And, it's hard because you obviously have to, you have to take your gain out of it, but I was like, look, this is what another investor will pay you. I'll pay you this. And I told my husband and he was like, yeah, it's like handed to us right now. Like it's perfect for her. It's perfect for us. I kept a great relationship with her the whole time, like sent her photos when we were done with the flip. And she was like, oh my gosh, like you turned it into a Beverly Hills house. Like she was so excited. And it was just so cool to like have that relationship with her and like solve a problem for her while also creating this whole new level of wealth building for us.
I love it. And it's like, and it did, it put another basically, bullet in your gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it really gave you another tool to talk about. And now you feel really confident to talk about it.
Yes.
And I know a lot of times in these flips, the first one, you can get hurt. Flipping is a professional's game, right? I always say, like, if somebody calls me, hey, I'm thinking I'm going to fix and flip something. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I mean, what, unless you are, it's always about what you buy it for, right? Not what you're selling it for. And I mean,
exactly.
I mean, I think, obviously there's a spread there. But understanding what that could look like in the very worst case scenario.
Oh, yeah. Yes, 100%. I know. And since doing that, I've had a lot of people reach out to me about just, tell me more. How do I flip houses? I've been thinking about flipping houses. And I'm like, slow down just a little bit. Like make sure you have the skills and the education and the knowledge because you can definitely lose on those. But
when you guys really graduated too, and I know when you graduated into like a much bigger flip, then you did something that was, I think again, a push out of your comfort zone, which I love. And, you utilize hard money, which can be scary too, because if it sits too long, it starts to rack up. I guess it takes away from your bottom line. So I think just really getting a handle on, your finance, your in and out on a deal.
Yes.
I think that's a really, really key component to being good at your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think if you find a deal really quickly, it's probably not a deal. Like if you're starting to get into that space and like, I want to flip houses, if it's hard to find a really good deal that's not going to be extremely risky. Like it's funny because even like other people I've talked to, they're like, well, if I make like 20 grand, that's great. Right. And I'm like, what happens if the roof needs to be replaced and you didn't know, like some big thing that once you open up the wall or whatever, like there goes all your 20 grand. Like people, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So that's where, you kind of get into this mentorship where you need to be able to walk alongside people who've done this with you. Otherwise you could get into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. We've seen it, right? We've seen it happen the bad way. I think, do you see yourself? I mean, we talked a little bit about which continual coaching and mentorship, and I know now you sort of elevated you're taking it up a notch again. Goal is to really get your husband out of staying up all night, or being woken up 100 times a night as a firefighter. I mean, ultimately, and have a business you guys can build together. That's what I love about this business. I love the idea that it truly can be. I mean, when we talk about legacy wealth building, you're building your own business, but you're building a business.
Yeah.
So you guys are building an asset, building wealth, along with the actual assets that sit in the business, the real estate holdings themselves. But you're building, something your kids can work into.
Yeah, and
at
I
18,
love that.
they don't have to worry about what career they're picking. They can actually do this for a couple years if they want to.
That's one of my favorite things about it is just being able to like tell them like go do whatever like sets your soul on fire. You have this whole business that's gonna run for you and make the kind of money you want to sustain your lifestyle, and you can go do what's like meaningful and important to you in life. And I feel like that's just such a special thing that not a lot of people get the opportunity to do.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And just to keep our family together. Like the health concerns with my husband being on the fire department for 25 years, like that is too scary for me. And so I've just decided that that's not worth the risk. And so he's got 15 more years if he were to just stay and be fully pensionable. And I'm like, 25 years of being woken up at night and being exposed to all the hazards that you're exposed to and just all the things. And it's a great career. It's a great job. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just not willing to risk his life like that anymore. And so my goal now is to bring him home whenever he's ready to be able to do this with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, it's so true. It's just such an incredible way to build a life together, and that's what we felt too.
Yeah.
And I work with my husband sort of separately when mortgage and when he was doing real estate years ago, and now contracting and developing and property management. There's so many areas in it that really you can find a niche to carve out. I always say, on my team, I'm always like, it's always community over competition.
Right.
Like there's so much business to be had. There's enough business out there for everybody.
There is. It can go all around.
And because we've taken our career path so seriously and so professionally, we wanted to be like you. We wanted to be learners. We wanted to find mentors. We talked about kind of graduating to a holistic approach, like my whole life coaching that you're doing now.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I actually just signed up. It's a 10-month long intensive program where it's a mastermind. There's retreats involved. It's very like self-development driven and also business driven. So it embodies everything that I feel like I need at this point in life. Like I'm a mom to 2 young kids. I'm trying to break generational traumas and things. I'm diving deep into like who I am. There's so many things happening that are like so pivotal in life right now. And I just feel like there's still just some tools missing where I could just be doing this so much better. And I feel like I struggle with, do I need to slow myself down in my business so that I can make sure that I'm here for my family? And I feel like this just came to my life at the right time to show me that you don't have to put pause on like all of your dreams and your business dreams and goals. And you can be like an amazing mother and be present and do it all at the same time. And I think that that's just what like this was for me. And it just landed in my lap at the most perfect timing. So I'm excited to just put all of the pieces together. Like you can be an amazing business person and run a great business, but you could do that tenfold if you learn the tools to believe in yourself and to just know that you have the abilities to do so much more than you ever imagined.
Yeah, there's a great quote, like we don't build the business, we build the people, and the people build the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. It's a Zig Ziglar quote, and it's to me, it's like, if you invest in yourself, you're a person too, right? But you can only do so much as one person. So as you decide to grow it and build it up, or whether that's your real estate business, whether that becomes an offshoot of, investment or fix and flips or whatever it is, rehab company or property management or whatever it is, you can find the people that can help you build the business.
Yeah.
And, that's how you leverage yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this thing about leverage is not just for houses and dollars
right
and equity. It's about your time,
leveraging yourself. You leverage money, you leverage time, and then you can do so much more with it.
What is your goal? I know you guys started out, do you have a goal, a passive income goal right now? Are you there yet?
I don't know that we have like a number in mind. Especially because I don't know like passively how much. I don't have like a number in mind at the moment.
Okay.
Really, I love to work. I'm just, you know what I mean? We share that same
Psycho.
Yeah. We love
Enneagram,
to work.
Enneagram 3
Enneagram 3. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
And so that's, a big part of where I struggle, but we're also so good. Like we just talked about this because I just did like my year in review. Like we took 7 family vacations this year, and other people, to me, I'm like, okay, we're going to do like 8 this year. And other people are like, we got to do 1 or whatever. But that's because we live below our means on purpose. Like we do that so that we can live this life of freedom together. And like the things aren't as important to us. And so it's just, that's
not about the money. It's about the freedom.
That's how we choose to live. Yes. It's not the money. Our goal isn't the money. And that's probably why I don't have a passive income number right now, because it isn't. I don't even know how much money I need as long as I'm
moving forward,
living and like living freely and getting to do all these things. Still. Yeah.
Oh, and I love the combination. I think you have a mentor that I've interviewed, Templeton, and his thing is about getting to having whatever those numbers are for you. He's got a strategy around X number of these a month, X number of these a quarter and a year, and whether it's deals that you're just closing on, whether it's wholesaling or whether it's fix and flips, but kind of outlining what works for you and your family, and you can work in all the vacations and things around it. But I think carving out your time it's becoming more important. I love it. I love to see people diving into this. I mean, I love events and community events and charity and giving back to that. So for me, it's like, I'm doing this for that.
Yeah.
Right. I do this to try to create opportunities to give back. So it's
absolutely,
everybody has their thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you do such a good job of it.
Well, it's what I love now. But to me, that's the really awesome part about this wealth building, real estate and wealth building as this tool, is that we've been able to then, leverage that to do things that, there's nothing cooler than writing a check a big check to an organization that you love passionately and want and know that they're doing good work and helping people. And, you can go in and go down to Mexico and build a house and help them. And that is all incredible and powerful too. But, to work for something to be able to like give back, that's really
absolutely.
turnkey.
And that's what gets to be really fun too, is because we have already started dreaming about those things and like who we're going to be able to help and what we're going to be able to do and the foundations and like, all of the things that we want to be able to do later. Like, and we even, we start doing it now, of course, as we do have this extra disposable income or whatever you want to call it, like, not having to pinch pennies quite as much, but it's so exciting when you can like think bigger than when it goes beyond even just your family. Like it's so cool.
For sure. Well, I cannot thank you enough. I love having you around me just all the time.
Me too.
It's so fun. You and I obviously have had, we were going to have a lot of stuff yet to do. So we're only just getting warmed up. Yeah, exactly. But I want to thank you for being here. I think what you've done personally and, and professionally, but personally to build wealth has been incredible. And, I'm here for it. I want to be here for it. You'll be my mentor.
Right.
You're going to mentor me. We're going to switch the tables here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. You have been such an inspiration for me.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Okay, well, we're going to put a bunch of information in the notes below because Crystal is somebody that you want to connect with, especially if you're looking to build your legacy portfolio of real estate. But she's here just to guidance and advice too. And we'll put all the links for her contact information below. If you're interested in building wealth for yourself, you can also connect with the link below for our wealth building contact. So thanks so much for joining us.